Welcome to Shri and Kira Live, the voice of passionate action, bringing fresh perspectives and timeless wisdom for today's shifting paradigm. Now, it is your moment to open your mind, relax into your body and spirit as we explore the greater meaning of your now experience. Bringing wisdom, laughter, and clarity, here are Shri and Kira.
Well, namaste, beloved ones, and welcome to a very special edition of Shri and Kira Live. Shri, I love this show because we're really looking about, is humanity ready? Are you ready?
Are you ready? Well, I tell you what, I've been ready so long, I'm re-ready.
Yeah, well, we won't go there today. And welcome, beloved listeners. We are just so excited to be with you today because today we really have one of our absolute favorite guests of all time on the show, Bill Birnes. Bill is on with us every couple times a year, and every time Bill is on, it's fascinating, it's incredible. And tonight we're going to talk about, is humanity ready? We're going to talk about contact with other life, government misinformation, find out what Bill's up to, which is pretty extraordinary. And the lines are open. So I just want to remind you guys that you can give us a buzz live, get in the queue at 888-627-6008. Again, that's 888-627-6008. And if it's busy, just try again after we take a caller. We also have a stack of email here, Shri.
Well, beautiful. So just for those of you that like a little background, Bill Birnes, William J. Birnes, is a prolific writer and has a PhD in medieval literature along with a law degree. How's that for rewriting history?
A dynamic being, indeed.
and co-authored The Day After Roswell, which became really kind of a cult favorite. It was a New York Times bestseller, in fact.
Yes.
And but more recently, he was one of the co-stars and producers of UFO Hunters on the History Channel, which was very popular and suddenly came to an end.
Well, this is true. I also want to say that as we talk about Bill is currently, he and his wife Nancy host Future Theater Radio every week. I hope you guys check that out. Stay in touch with Bill and find out what he's up to.
So let's just say hello and welcome to Bill Birnes. How are you?
Hi, Shri. Hi, Kira. Good to be here again.
Oh, Bill, it's a delight to have you here, and welcome. My goodness, we have so much going on, so much activity from our listeners. Let's just dive in, Shri, should we?
Let's do that. Let's get this conversation started.
Yeah, well, Bill, I'm going to start with actually a listener letter, one of the ones that have come in. We had a lot of them that said the same thing, but I'll just read this one from Steve that says, "So glad to hear you're interviewing Bill Birnes. I wish UFO Hunters was still on. So we just want to make sure we can't hear Bill and we can't hear the show. Are we here
now? Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Yeah.
It's rainy season in Guatemala, guys, so it's our Skype, I'm sure, is causing this hiccup.
Well, let's back up because I'm all ears. Bill, could you catch us up a little bit on what happened toward the end of UFO Hunters?
Sure. Just to answer that letter, it was like an amalgamation, right, of a whole bunch of different things. One, of course, was that that the show UFO Hunters was born out of the old UFO files that had predated it by about 10 years. And there had been an episode of UFO Files called UFO Hunters, and it was profiling people like Stan Friedman, Roger Lear, people like that, Ted Phillips. These are all the very experienced, very scientifically based UFO researchers. And when we proposed the show UFO Hunters, it was an entirely different kind of show for history. It was brand new. And it came in at the same time as another show called the Ice Road Truckers. And the two shows were the most popular shows on the network. But one of the things that happened was that the budgets for UFO Hunters began growing and growing, and it was in the hundreds of thousands per episode, and that was really too much for them. And then History Channel spawned another channel called H2. So what they were doing was they were starting a whole other channel, and they were moving all their paranormal and spiritual and things like ghost, ancient aliens, all of that was going to this new channel. So UFO Hunters, the original one, was simply too expensive for them. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, we got into a whale of trouble in the Dulce, New Mexico episode where we showed that photograph of a human-bovine fetus hybrid. And after that episode aired, 3 United States senators, Grassley, Graham, and Landrieu, submitted a bill, entered a bill in the Senate to make it illegal under Title 18, which is the Federal Criminal Act, under Title 18, to interbreed species genetically of animals and humans. And if there were a research project going on at Dulce, New Mexico, interbreeding humans and animals, and we know there were because there was the photograph of the mouse with the human ear, and there was all this experimentation, that made it illegal. So whatever pharmaceutical, biological, microbiological companies, genetic companies were doing this, suddenly it became a federal crime. And there was a lot of big money behind this, because you could imagine using cows to grow human organs. And this was not new, by the way, Shri. This goes all the way back to that horrible creature, Josef Mengele from Auschwitz.
Well, I am fascinated by what's being said, and I'm fascinated by the energy. I just have to interject that I love that here we are talking about these things that brought senators in, that got Bill's show off the air, and boy, is the electric flying. It's just blowing up the lines.
We've never had this many...
Ever. All right, Bill.
But listen, I got a question here.
Right.
So what I heard you say is they quickly passed a bill outlawing this research or interbreeding of species. But how does that affect the fact that you were reporting on something you saw?
Because what they didn't want, if you want to go chase a UFO and take a video of some lights flying over a mountain, hey, have a nice day, right? You're not stepping on anybody's toes. But you show that there is active human interbreeding going on. And this is during the time when you've got evangelicals screaming about all kinds of terrible things science is doing, but you've got big pharmaceutical and genetic company money involved in this. You're actually putting your hand in somebody else's money. Never do that. And so we'd gotten a warning that we'd absolutely gone too far with that. So that was the other kind of nail in the coffin. And then the third one was that what history wanted to do was stay on the safe side of UFOs, not on the cutting edge side of UFOs. Don't go up to Area 51 and take telephoto lens video into the heart of the base. Don't go to places and say these are active UFO sightings. People are seeing these now, and here's the government. Don't get government informants to talk on camera. And all these things were not safe then. But at the beginning of the third season, they had what I had done is I'd written a segment for UFO Hunters on ancient aliens. Using our special effects guys, our prop guys, to build a flyable model of a Mesoamerican, they said it was a bird artifact from 1,000 years ago, but actually we think it was the artifact of a plane or a spacecraft or the space shuttle or something that might have traveled back in time, and the thing was, would it fly? Well, that particular segment in the beginning of season 3 was so popular, and of course I had brought the guest on, Giorgio Tsoukalos. He was my guest because we were friends. They basically turned that into a whole show. It was very safe, and so that was how Ancient Aliens, and they moved it from History Channel to H2 because it was so much. It was much cheaper to film. It maybe cost $25,000. $20,000 an episode as opposed to $300,000 an episode, so they could make money easier on that, and they still kept a nice audience. So those three things combined to really take UFO Hunters as it was being produced off the air.
Well, so there was a convergence of things there, but it's also certainly a statement about the consciousness of the powers that be.
Well, and what I'm fascinated by, Bill, is that, you have such a propensity for being able to dive in and find facts. For me, really about, at the end of the day, it looks like that what really these networks are caring still the most about is delivering entertainment for the economy of scale versus honestly educating the public.
Well, I remember, honestly educating the public would be the job of public television, local cable channels, things like that. I mean, but at the start of the second season, one of the things that I had to do, we were looking for more sponsors. We knew the show was doing well. We knew the show was getting decent ratings by the end of the first season, especially after the Stephenville, Texas episode, because what I tried to do was navigate the show away from these tried and true older UFO cases into what's happening now on the ground, because the premise of the show was real people showing real evidence, telling real stories of UFOs they believed were real. So it was almost like UFOs Live was really the premise. And so one of the things we did was we diverted the whole show toward the end of the first season on the road to Stephenville, Texas, where there was a live series of sightings going on, especially some of the really credible. And so that really helped define the show to make it more immediate. And that's when the network began thinking, boy, if you could turn the dynamics among the three UFO hunter personalities into the same kinds of dynamics on Ice Road Truckers, again, very popular, then you'd have something. And so what you're seeing is we came up at a time, and I'm writing about this now in the UFO Hunter, we came up at a time when reality television itself was undergoing a change from the standard four graybeards look at some architectural site and comment on the fact that, human beings didn't have the tools to make this site. Actually, they did. But the human beings didn't have the tools to make this site, so it had to be aliens. So this wild speculation, and I agree with that. That's fine. That's fun TV. That's great. But on the one hand, we were moving from that. There was a whole new dynamic coming in.
We're having a
dynamic of Ice Road Truckers, of storage wars, of porn stars, of real housewives, of smart people. And so there was a conflict.
So,
going
Bill,
on.
how does this feed into the books that you're doing now on UFO Hunters?
I know you're getting ready to do UFO Hunters 2, or you're finishing that. Is there anything new in that? Is it backstory? What are people going to learn?
Well, yeah, there is a backstory. And the backstory is how it was what I was saying. As we came up, reality television itself was changing.
Yeah.
And so we were caught at that watershed moment between the entertainment of three guys running around, looking for stuff and doing crazy stuff, to we are really educating folks. And so there was a real issue about that, and they didn't know what to do with it. And that, combined with the high budgets, combined with where they wanted to move their UFO material, all that combined to say, fine, let's take a long hiatus. And so I'm writing about that, but I'm also writing about, in this book, really the process of trying to figure out what was going on. And the standard UFO shows, not just on History Channel, but on a lot of other channels as well, Discovery and channels like that, Sci-Fi, was you take an event or an artifact or something, right, a story, and you assert, like you're pounding on a table, this is definitely a UFO. Mm-hmm. And we took the opposite tack. I loved Sherlock Holmes stories growing up, and I went all the way back to Sherlock Holmes, the first Arthur Conan Doyle book, which is a story in itself, called The Study in Scarlet. And the process of Sherlock Holmes was you take every conventional explanation you can for an event, and you test it out as far as you can go for the purpose of eliminating that explanation as a cause. And what you're left with That's what requires investigation. And so that was the premise of UFO Hunters.
Mm.
So, well, it makes perfect sense. So you have a process of elimination, but my mind is still back at the grotesque mental image of the hybrid experimentation that you put on air. Did you investigate that further even after the show stopped, or did that just go away?
No, we did investigate it further. And what we found was really more astounding than there were aliens inside the Archuleta Mesa. What we found were a couple of things. One, this is from the person who was running, it's called BLT Laboratories, and they do all the chemical analysis, spectral analysis, and physics analysis of crop circles. And what they said was, first of all, the government was doing the actual cattle mutilation themselves because they didn't want to start buying up cattle for experimentation purposes, because that would have been in the world of the press, in the public world. Somebody would have said to them, hey, why are you buying all these herds? What are you doing? Why are you buying all these cattle? And they would have had to come up with a story. Better to say, oh, look at the mutilated cow. We have no reason. We have no understanding. We don't understand why that's mutilated. Must be UFOs. So UFOs are a very easy explanation for anything you don't want to talk about, right? So that was on the one hand.
Yeah, right.
That's one. Two was, what were they looking for? They were, on the one hand, looking for signs of the mad cow disease, because the one thing we didn't want for our beef industry was there to be an epidemic of mad cow disease which takes 15 to 20 years to manifest itself in the public, running through the fast food industry. Can you imagine that kind of a debacle? That's two. Three, if you're going to experiment with hybridizing the species, you want specific lines of stock. So whether it's Black Angus or whether it's this, you want that. So you're not going to just buy up a herd. You will find these cows somewhere and just mutilate them. All you need is the soft tissue, and use that soft tissue for hybridization purposes, for stem cell purposes.
It is such a fascinating, deep subject, and such a huge discovery, looking at where the show is going, what you uncovered, what we want to do is just take a quick break.